I have used many 35mm SLRs ranging from Canon A1s, Canon AE1s, Nikon F100s, F5s and Pentax K1000s and many others. But the 35mm SLR that I actually own isn't any of these. The SLR that I own is a bit of a weird one. It's not popular, but it's a quality camera. The camera that I'm talking about is the Yashica FX-3. This one here, I absolutely love it. I've owned the camera for almost 2 years now and it has become one that I have fallen in love with. It's not super flashy or high tech, but it's a really fun camera. That's why I thought about making this video, to show you that you can get a really good camera for not much money at all. I bought the Yashica FX-3 because back in college, my teacher told me that I could keep anything that I found in this storage room because it just wasn't getting used and they hadn't sorted through it. I ended up finding this old Yashica camera, I think it's like a Yashica Auto 110 or something like that, I don't know. But basically it was the camera and then a bunch of lenses, but the camera didn't work. But since the camera didn't work and I didn't shoot much 35mm film at that time, I just didn't really do anything with it. It just sat around, not being used. But around a year and a half after finding the equipment, I then decided to look on eBay to try and find a camera that I could use these lenses for. So I was searching around for cameras that could use the CY mount, and I quickly found the Yashica FX-3 Super 2000. But unlucky for me, it was out of my price range. But not long after finding that camera, I just found the basic Yashica FX-3. But it was exactly what I was looking for, as it was stylish, cheap, and could use the CY mount lenses. I quickly found one for around £40 with shipping included. It arrived shortly after I purchased it and I began taking photos right away. At this point I didn't really shoot loads of 35mm film, but the camera that I was using when I was shooting 35mm film was the Canon Model 7. I absolutely loved this camera at the time, but after my first few rolls in the FX-3, I completely forgot about the Model 7. I took this camera everywhere with me. I shot portraits, landscapes, family photos, cat photos and everything in between. And I had been wanting to make a video about the camera for this last year, but I just never really got round to it. But since it's around Christmas time, in fact Christmas was yesterday, people may be getting Christmas money and they may want to buy a 35mm SLR. And this is a really good option if you want to get a cheap SLR that is good so you can save money for film. So in this video I'll be sharing some images and be discussing the pros and cons that I have found while using this camera. So we'll just get right into it and start with the pros. My first pro is a really important one to me, and that is the price. Being a uni student means price matters a lot to me, and if I can save money on the camera but still get good results, then I'm gonna go for that camera. Also, since I don't shoot 35mm film all the time, I don't need a super expensive one, and that's why the Yashica FX-3 is perfect for me. Like I said, I bought mine for around £40 including shipping, and it was in excellent condition and I had barely any marks on it. The price has gone up a little bit since I bought mine, but I'm sure with some digging you can most definitely find one for around the same price that I got mine. For the second pro, I'll be talking about the looks and handling. This camera is a good looking camera. It has a retro design, it feels good in the hands and is easy to use. The FX-3 is a super basic SLR. It has all the controls that you need it to have and then nothing more except maybe like a self-timer button. It's not flashy in any way, but that's not what it's meant to be. It's just meant to get the job done and it does that really well. The camera is comfortable in the hand and doesn't really feel awkward in any way. Although I guess one complaint would be that there is no grip on the camera, but to be honest you don't need it because it is just so light in the first place. The camera is also really small, meaning you can fit it in a big pocket or a small bag and you won't even notice it's there. The third pro is that this camera has a light meter. While this is really common for 35mm SLRs, it's just a nice addition on an already good camera. Obviously my camera may be different to yours, but the results that I have gotten using this camera's light meter have been really accurate and definitely usable. I also really like the simplicity of the light meter. It's just a plus and a negative telling you if you're overexposed or underexposed. It's super simple to understand and really easy to use. The light meter on this camera is also really convenient as it isn't always on like some SLRs, or it isn't like some SLRs where you have to half press the shutter. On the FX-3 there is a very conveniently placed little button between the winding mechanism and the viewfinder, and if you press that then the light meter activates. It's in the perfect spot for your thumb and it means your battery won't drain with your light meter constantly being on, or you won't accidentally take a shot when trying to half press the shutter button. For my final pro, I'll quickly talk about the lens choice. With the camera being cheap, you would most likely hope that the lenses are as well, and you'll be correct. There are so many lenses with the CY mount, and you can get some amazing ones like this 50mm 1.9 that I use on the Yashica FX-3 all the time. But don't worry, if you're wanting to get into a system that you can grow with and eventually get some high quality lenses, then you are in the right place. Zeiss made a whole bunch of high quality CY mount lenses, including a 50mm 1.4 which I may have to get one day if I have the money spare. I was surprised with how many lenses there are for this system. I only have a few at the moment, including the 50mm 1.9, the 35 2.8, the 135 2.8, and I did have a few more, but they were just too far gone and I couldn't repair them or clean them or anything like that, so they went in the bin. The 50mm 1.9 also creates quite a unique image with some swirly bokeh, so if that's your thing, then definitely get that lens. Right, we're done with the pros, so let's move on to the cons, and my first con is the ISO dial. While it isn't the worst problem since you won't be changing the ISO dial all that much since you're shooting film, it is still weirdly difficult to change. It might just be because I have big fingers, but it is quite difficult for me to change the ISO dial. I just find it really awkward. There isn't much room for you to move it, and you also have to keep the dial's ring lifted when moving it, so it's just a bit of a pain and it's just really awkward. It's the same as the Fujifilm X Pro 3, and I commonly spoke about how much I didn't like the ISO dial on that camera, but this one is even worse since you have even less space, and because it's an old camera it's a bit more stiff. I'm not sure if this is a feature or a problem, but the winding mechanism has this lock type feature that makes it difficult sometimes to wind on your film. I thought mine was just a bit dodgy, but I spoke to two other people that had a Yashica FX-3 and they said they had the same thing and they thought it was a problem as well, so it may just be a common problem, but it may also be a feature, and if it is a feature then all I have to say is just why. It just feels like you're winding on the film wrong and it feels like the film might rip. It's just such a stupid feature if that is implemented as a feature. If it's a common problem then, you know, can't really blame them. If anyone has any information about this feature or problem, then please put it in the comments down below, as I'd really like to learn more since I can't really find anything online. While it doesn't actually affect the winding in any way, it does add more resistance, which is just completely unnecessary. This con isn't actually that bad, but it may deter some people. This camera can only shoot up to 1/1000th of a second, which is really fast, but if you have a wide lens then it may be a problem for you. I've only experienced problems a few times when I've been wanting to shoot wide open to get that nice swirly bokeh on the 50mm 1.9, but it's really bright outside and I can't get to a high enough shutter speed. If you're planning on shooting stop down most of the time, then this definitely won't be a problem for you, but if you want to get the 50mm 1.4 and you're planning to shoot in bright scenarios for whatever reason, then this will definitely be a problem. To solve this, you could get the Yashica FX-3 Super 2000, which has a max shutter speed of 1/2000th of a second and also some other features. However, you will be paying more and you're only getting one extra stop of light. A much easier way to solve this is to just shoot film with a lower ISO. And to be honest, I can't think of any other cons. The Yashica FX-3 is an all-around decent camera. It doesn't have any amazing features and it's not super flashy, but like I said before, it's just there to get the job done and it does it well. I recommend this camera to people who are wanting to get into 35mm film photography, but don't want to break the bank, want to get the vintage styling, and also want a lens mount that you can grow with. Obviously there are loads of other good options out there from Canon, Nikon, Pentax, Contax and just like everyone, but this is the camera that I stuck with because it just suited me so well and I already had lenses for it. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Be sure to check out my last one. Goodbye.